There's a new investing trend that's been made popular on TikTok where people are investing in stocks solely based on the disclosures of the stock investments that are being made by members of Congress. Millions of new retail investors have hit the markets in the past 2 years, partially due to having extra time because of the lockdowns with the pandemic, and also because of the stimulus that's been provided in the United States to millions of people. And with this huge influx of new investors, we've seen many different trends in how they are making investment decisions. This is one of the more surprising ones. Several accounts or individuals have started posting on Reddit and on TikTok about bringing attention to the disclosures that are being made by members of Congress and the Senate when they or their families are purchasing shares of any companies. A very popular member of the Senate who has come up in a lot of these postings is Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi's gone on record saying she is personally not the one who's making these stock purchases, but rather it's her husband who also has to be included into her stock disclosures. But this trend of buying stocks based on what members of Senate or Congress are buying is built around the idea that our lawmakers probably have access to some information about what companies are going to be running in the near future that the rest of us might not have access to. We're going to watch some of these TikToks together and I'll react to them live. This will be the first time that I'm watching many of them, just to see what exactly these traders that are following these trends are buying and why they're buying.
That's right, you guys. Nancy the Whale has done it again. As we saw on Nancy's public financial disclosure forms, there were over $1.5 million in transactions for a company, Nvidia. Since it seemed to be working so well for her, I decided to copy the same exact thing she was doing. So far, it seems to be working out for me pretty well. So I had to make this video to give a special shout out to Nancy Pelosi for helping me run it up.
Okay, he said that it's working out so far. I'd like to see the price he bought the stock at and what it's at now, and also the price where it was when Nancy made this disclosure that she had it personally and what it's done since then. That video didn't give us a lot of context.
That's right, you guys. Nancy the Whale is back, and she's hungrier than ever before. Or is she? I have non-stop been getting tagged in this video asking if it's real, so I'm going to show you guys what's going on with it right now.
Okay.
As you guys can see, this information is coming straight from the SEC's website, and we can see Paul Pelosi's name right there. What the SEC has told us is that Paul has bought up to $300,000 worth of this company called International Media Acquisition Corp. However, this plan seems to be in the very early stages, as this seems to be a very illiquid company to invest in. One thing you should know is that this company is an SPAC that has the goal of acquiring a separate company. So if you guys want to stay updated on what happens, make sure to hit the follow button.
So her husband bought a SPAC. I'm curious about what the underlying company actually is. Let's look at part 2 here.
That's right, you guys. Nancy the Whale is back. But what's even more interesting is what her friends are doing. Specifically, I'm talking about Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. We found out just yesterday that he had sold his stake in 3 different companies. The first company that he got out of was Alibaba.
Everyone trades that.
The second company
AT&T,
was AT&T. Last but not least, he sold MCHP, a microchip company. Since senators are usually known to sell out of their companies before they drop, I will 1000% be following along. If you want to stay updated on what rich people are doing, make sure to hit that follow button.
This is a little bit lower quality than I thought it would be. I have couple complaints there right at the end. He said senators are known to sell stocks right before they drop. In the article I read that brought my attention to this trend, it cited several studies that showed that members of Congress and the Senate have slightly beaten the S&P 500's performance over the last 5-10 year period, but there's nothing that would indicate they are always selling things right before they drop. That would mean they would drastically outperform the market, and that's not the reality right now. Then he said, if you want to follow to see what more rich people are doing, you know, watch this. Nancy Pelosi is rich, but the majority of our Congress probably are not the rich or smart money investors that you would want to follow if you really needed to see what rich people are really doing. There are far richer people or more informed people you could be following than random members of the Senate. Now we'll look at some videos from a TikTok account called Quick Trades. In general, I am really not a fan of these random TikTokers posting information and giving context around the trades that they are personally making. It can really influence other even less educated or less informed people to make those same exact trades, and it's very likely that those investment decisions are not necessarily what that other person should be doing.
The queen of investing just spent $300,000
The queen of investing. She's the whale and the queen.
So let's load up the 13F filing that came out on Friday and take a look at what it is. So on July 28th,
I guess they're all about
2021, Mr. Paul Pelosi decided that he just felt like buying 30,000 shares of International Media Acquisitions Group.
Oh, same stock we
If we
looked
take
at
a
a
look
minute
at the
ago.
charts, it looks like iMac is sitting at about $9.75. So I've come to the conclusion that Nancy Pelosi is a sidekick and she can guess when a stock is going to pump. So I think I'll be picking up a couple shares on Monday. All right, guys, good luck.
I'm also learning now that this entire trend seems primarily based around Nancy Pelosi and her husband, which is pretty funny. But another complaint here, he said at the end of that video, oh, I'm really convinced that she's a psychic, so I'm going to be buying the stock myself. Why are you convinced that she's a psychic? Show us some numbers on the returns that she or you have generated from buying stocks based on her disclosures.
And would you look at that? Literally clockwork. The US government has an
NVIDIA.
agreement to purchase a supercomputer from who else? NVIDIA. Yup, NVIDIA. The one.
Okay.
Yup. The one that Nancy bought back on 7/23/21 in that tweet. The news comes out literally yesterday, like 8/24/21. She knew. And you would have known if you followed her portfolio on Iris. Come do it. I have a group chat going where we're kind of going over how to use the app and whatnot.
That one's definitely fishy. I wonder if the stock price popped that much. I'll check it out after I record this and put it up on the screen. But in general, if she were to have bought a stock in July and then there was a big government deal announced in September and the price really popped, yeah, that does not sound like a coincidence to me. I mentioned earlier that NVIDIA is a common stock, and that's definitely true, but if you don't have it and then you get it 2 months before a deal like that happens that you very well may have known about, there's something wrong going on there.
Nancy Pelosi just bought some more stocks.
NVIDIA again?
She just went big on NVIDIA, bought more shares.
And this was August 20th.
And of course, the stock goes up 5% today, classic. And you can follow her real portfolio on Iris to never miss a trade again.
She bought a bunch of call options on NVIDIA August 20th, and then they announced a deal that the US government was buying a lot of chips from them on August 24th. You can try to give someone the benefit of the doubt on something like this, but it seems very unlikely that these two events could be unrelated. How's the SEC not looking into something like that? Or maybe they are. I don't know, but that's a problem. So we found one good example so far of something that looks really fishy, but I've been scrolling through these videos for like 30 or 45 minutes, so I'm still not convinced that just buying the stocks based on members of Congress's stock disclosures would be a profitable strategy. Okay. Pfizer, Common, J&J, one of the biggest value stocks, GE, biggest value stocks. Exxon, big value stock. Google, big growth stock. Totally irrelevant. Those are maybe the most 5 commonly held stocks by anyone over age 60 and above, just because the stock allocation in your portfolio could be tilted a little bit towards lower beta positions, which in many cases would be value stocks. We looked at 4 of some of the most prominent stocks in the large cap value category. I guess it wouldn't necessarily be terrible if some random TikTok viewer saw this and said, oh, I need to buy those stocks because they're just going to get what they would get in like a large cap value ETF. Really nothing special here. But the fact remains that this type of what looks like investment advice coming from TikTok is not helpful at all.
Someone should start an index fund for all of the stocks that Congress people
then we could measure
are
it.
invested in. Somehow, Congress people just happen to outperform the market every single year. So someone should put together all of the stocks that they own in an index fund, and then regular people like me and you can actually profit from the corruption of the US government by investing in that index fund. So if the stocks that Congress people are holding go up, then our index fund does well. I think someone should get on that.
I like the general sentiment here. I think the author of that video is being a little bit over-optimistic on the performance that members of Congress actually earn in the market. I'll reference that study again that was linked in the article that made me aware of this trend. It showed that they barely outperform the market over longer periods of time. The outperformance is really nominal. You could chalk it up to luck or just distributions between the certain stocks that they bought. But I still like the idea here, because if you were to want to follow this investing strategy, it could become prohibitively difficult just because there are a huge quantity of stocks that members of Congress buy, because there are a lot of members of the Congress and each one can buy a ton of different stocks. So an individual investor, especially a retail investor, would never really be able to get exposure to every single one of them if you wanted to. An index fund or an ETF like this would be relatively easy and straightforward for the custodian to manage. They could charge 40 basis points or something like that, and people would get an investment product that they think could be a good idea. It'd be interesting to see if anyone ever put that together. I'm gonna wrap it up here because, to be honest, this trend is not quite what I thought it was gonna be chalked up to be. I knew it wouldn't be financial professionals making these sort of recommendations on buying the stocks that other members of Congress were buying, but I definitely thought it would be farm creators who give a better presentation at least, or are more educated on why this strategy could potentially be a good thing, and I really have not seen any of that. Not only have these TikToks been very low quality and unfortunately seem to have offered investment advice, I haven't found a single one that shows any proof on the returns that they've generated from following this trend or a back test of what following this trend could have resulted in. There's no good reason that anyone watching these TikToks should believe that it's a smart thing to do. Other than the statements made by some of the creators in these TikToks going, oh, members of Congress have dominated market performance, which is just not true. Let me know in the comments down below what all of you think about this trend specifically, or if you just want to see me continue to make reaction type videos to other TikToks in the future. I really like the concept and the structure. It's just that this specific trend was of a lower quality than I had originally expected when coming into it. Don't forget to like this video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, all that great YouTube stuff. It helps me out, push the channel forward, and as always, thanks for watching.